before I forget to tell you, use my code TheThirstyCowboy for 15% off cowboy hats.
We fly. We're electric, feel the vibe. No slowing down, we come alive. Energy flows, we touch the light. This moment's ours, we own the night. We touch the light. Hands up high, don't ever stop. Feel the beat, it's gonna drop. Every pulse, it's in your veins. Dance through the fight, you'll break the chains. We're chasing stars, hearts collide. Racing fast, no need to hide. DJ spinning, feels so right. Get ready now, let's ignite. We're electric, feel the vibe. No slowing down, we come alive. Energy flows, we touch the light. This moment's ours, we own the night.
We're going for the bus. Anyways.
The bus?
Welcome to Ireland! Are you a Yank?
You're a Yank.
No, you're a Yank.
No, you're a Yank.
You see, I've got like, what do you call them, Teslas in America.
Okay, yes.
And then what's
I've seen them here
what's
too.
your what's your opposite of Tesla? Like your complete, like polar opposite of a Tesla.
Gas? Diesel powered truck?
You know, like a really small car, like a micro. You got them, no?
Teslas are not the biggest car though.
Well, right, okay. Well, what's your biggest, like, you know, like, whoa, like,
It's like
what
a diesel.
car?
It's like a diesel truck.
But yeah, so,
Like a GMC
but
or a
what's
Chevy.
the worst car you could drive in America? That's really
Like
rude.
a diesel truck.
The worst or the
Okay, like, no, I don't mean worse for the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, like, worse
A
for, like,
Fiesta's
the
not
look.
that bad.
Be gone.
Take the hike up to the top here. A hike up to the first observation point. Pretty easy. carts. Kinda cool. Not mobile, they can get you up to the first observation area by cart. Here after hours, it's, oh man, 9:30 at night. If there wasn't cloud cover, it'd be a beautiful sunset behind us. That Ireland weather came in. I'm gonna hike the rest of this here. Some more good images to see. Caught up with a few of the friends too. Up your hand on it, the backside of your hand.
No, it won't kill me, but it'll
Wake you up. All right, that is less than a mile out right
man,
there.
I thought you said it wasn't coming at us. I said it.
I was just talking about how the weather changes here really quickly. Hopefully that shows up on camera pretty well. But there's like an entire rain system right there. That's about 3/4 of a mile from us now. Moving very quickly toward us. Oh, I'm feeling it. It's funny as it's hitting me from my face from distance.
There's a bunch of little patches of
Oh, there we go. It might just be too late. We might have to pops. We're kind of hoping the wind would shift in another direction, but it's literally like on my back, shoving me down the mountain.
My
here.
dad! Where's he at? Suck going down on the switchbacks.
Run! Look, Evan's running! For 10 feet! You moving your feet?
Yes,
It is kind of going that way. It is going that way. Safe-ish. It's wild. But hey, Cliffs of Moher. And the weather out here got a little nuts, but we're back at the entrance here. Pretty cool. They got like these shops. What they're doing. Souvenir. I'm guessing food out here. And his cat. So how cool is this? You start your tour with a glass of Jamo right off the rip. So you get your choice between Jameson and ginger and lime, Jameson lemonade, or just Jameson original neat.
Look at that.
I only got mine yesterday.
Like twins. Yeah, where did you get that one?
tattoo shop near me. It's only down, it's about 10 minutes walk from my house. So the girl that does mine, she does it.
That's what. Are you going to get it shaded in, or just leave it
no,
out?
I quite like it like that. So
I kind of like it like that too.
I like the simplicity of it, kind of just the out.
We all got tattoos.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, you see, he's got the.
Oh yeah, no, I got this yesterday.
Class.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Over this side. Should be able to catch it in there now. Just check your ticket there. Okay, so we'll start with our bottle of Jameson. So everything you need to know about Jameson is on the bottle or in the bottle. The name Jameson comes after our founding father, and his name was John Jameson. And on the label, you see the family crest here in front of me, and the family motto is Sine Metu. And those words are Latin, and they mean without fear, or fearless. And those words came to define John Jameson's life and our whiskey ever since. So it all begins back in 1780, when John Jameson, an enterprising young Scotsman, came over and set up shop here in Dublin in Smithfield. Back then, Dublin was in the midst of an economic boom, and the population was growing dramatically. Economically, back in 1780, Dublin was actually the second largest city in the UK and Ireland, second only to London. And all over this city there was about 100 distilleries and breweries. Many of these would fade over time, but one institution would remain here on Dublin's north side for over 2 centuries. And this is where you are today. It is the Jameson Distillery here at Bow Street. So John Jameson, he moved over. He was actually a Scottish man, and he settled here with his wife Margaret. And together they shared a sense of adventure. With hard work and innovation, the distillery grew, and so did their family. They had 16 children together. Yes, they had no TV back then. One of their children was John Jameson II, and he took over as master distiller, and he was entrusted the legacy by his father and kept the distillery going through hard work, innovation, and unmatched quality. And this meant that by the 1820s the distillery was spread across 5 acres of land, and it covered much of the Smithfield area where you are today. Between 1880 and 1905 we were firing on all cylinders, or pot stills, so to speak. So you can see how big the distillery was back in the 1800s. So you may see the name Jameson is on the label, but the legacy is shared by many others. Next time you see a bottle of Jameson, look at the base and at the neck of the bottle, and you will see an image of a barrel man carrying a barrel on his back. This barrel man image represents all of the hard workers, past and present, who helped to build our whiskey from the ground up. And so back in the day, our distillery here, it was like a city within our city. So we had many local craftspeople employed here, and we were self-sufficient. So we had our own carpenters, blacksmiths, millwrights, painters, coopers, and ostlers. The ostlers took care of the horses. These people, they took great pride in their work. And it was said, once you had a job at Jameson, you had a job for life. So by 1870 we had about 300 people working here at the distillery, and we supported hundreds of families from the local area. By 1880 we were making 1 million gallons of whiskey per year, which is about 6.5 million bottles of whiskey per year. Can anyone guess how many bottles of whiskey we make per year now? We make 120 million bottles of whiskey per year. Yes. Then we drink them all on St. Patrick's Day. You're all gone then. Okay, so does anyone have any questions so far?
Where's the product come from?
Where did what?
The product to make it.
Like the barley?
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, it comes from a 100-kilometer radius of the fields, and then we get corn from France. Then we get the water locally, and the yeast is local as well. Okay. Yeah, all of that is local. Yeah. Anyone else got any questions? We're all good? Okay, so if you worked here back in the day, you were entitled to your glass of daily grog.
And this meant you got a glass of whiskey in the morning at the start of your shift, and you got a glass of whiskey in the evening at the end of your shift. If you had a dirty job, like cleaning the chimneys, you got an extra glass of whiskey. So some workers would cover their faces in dust and soot, and ask for a third glass. Now, other people who worked here, they said they only enjoyed a cup of tea. And if you were a new employee starting on your very first day, the workers would give you a warning. They said, never ever light the open flame in the tea room. Now, the managers knew the whiskey was going missing, but they did not realise the workers were hiding the whiskey every morning in the teapot. They were filling it up and having a little cup of tea for their lunch break. So this would have been 60% alcohol or 120 proof. So that was a very strong cup of tea. So things have changed a lot since then. We no longer give our workers daily grog. We have built a grog bar, and that's where you all were a few minutes ago. We make sure everyone gets a drink at the grog bar when they come to visit us. So some of you had Jameson ginger and lime today. Anyone try that one? It's quite nice. And some of you had your whiskey neat as well today. Okay, we will be having more whiskey at the end of the tour. So our last room is our whiskey tasting room. Now, if you have questions through the tour, we'll be stopping at every section. So if you have any questions, let me know. So does anyone have any questions so far? Why
is the water from France?
No, the water is not from France. So
The corn.
the corn is from France because we don't have good enough weather in Ireland to grow corn, but barley grows pretty easily in Ireland. That's why barley is our grain of choice for our whiskey. But you can use barley, rye, corn, all types of grains. So in America, it would be corn would be the most popular for bourbon or for whiskey. Then in Scotland, it's barley or rye. They would use over there. But here it's mostly barley. Yeah.
Later in the tour, are you going to explain the percentage of corn, or is it something?
Well, the next room we're going to go through the process. I think what it is for us, we don't have. It's not exact, but it must be 30% unmalted and 30% malted to call itself an Irish whiskey. But the corn is not. It is not brought into an Irish mash bill, but in the US the corn is part of the mash bill. Does that make sense? Yeah, because that's the way they make it over there, so it has to have more corn. Yeah. Okay, hope I explained that. So our next section is a bit more history. So Jameson was busy shipping our great Irish whiskey all over the world. More and more people were enjoying the triple distilled smoothness and incomparable taste of our great Irish whiskey. But then history, in the shape of military and political conflict, intervened. There was World War I and World War II. And here in Ireland, we had our own conflict, the 1916 Rising. Due to its location in the city centre, our building here was used as a fortress. There was even snipers positioned on our roof during the fighting. Martial law was imposed for a short time during that period. This meant that no worker was allowed into the building and no production could continue. But our wage records from the time actually showed that all workers were paid in full during the shutdown. And this really shows how generous Jameson was even back then. Because back then, if you missed a day of work, even if you were sick, you didn't get paid. So that shows how generous we were. So things began to get better, but then they got a lot worse. So we had restrictive trade tariffs imposed by Britain. Then there was prohibition in the United States, and some American bootleggers would label their moonshine as Irish whiskey, so they could charge more for it. So there was damage to our good name and our reputation, but also there was a loss of momentum for us, and it lasted for many years. There was a slow decline for the whiskey industry in Ireland, and by the 1960s, the Irish whiskey industry had hit rock bottom. But in the spirit of John Jameson and his innovative thinking, the guardians of the whiskey bearing his name decided it was time to sink or swim, and so did some of the other whiskey makers in Ireland. And so in 1966, after years of rivalry, we joined forces with John Power and Sons and the Cork Distillery Company. And we had a merger. We formed a new group called the Irish Distillers Group. And this group actually still exists today, so it actually worked. We say that the spirit of John Jameson is here in Bow Street, and this is where he perfected the art of whiskey making. But our heart, it now lies down in Middleton, which is in County Cork, and that is where we now mature and distill all of our whiskey for a growing global demand. And it really is the perfect place for us to make our whiskey. Although our whiskey making is steeped in tradition and craft, our makers are looking for new and innovative ways of making whiskey. So we try new recipes, new ingredients and new techniques. And this is all to appeal to a growing global audience of whiskey drinkers. Our story at Jameson is a story of our people. It's a story of the makers, the masters, the blenders, and all who share in 245 years of our legacy and our heritage here at Jameson. And this is also your story, everyone around the world who enjoys Jameson, and everyone who enjoys the triple distilled smoothness and incomparable taste of our great Irish whiskey. So in the spirit of John Jameson himself, we at Jameson, we say that we are all barrel men. Okay, does anyone have any questions so far? You're all good? Okay, so if you want to follow me this way, everybody, we're going to go through here.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, so here at Jameson, we say whiskey making is a blend of science and art. Well, there are many processes involved in making our whiskey, so today I'll break it down into 3 key steps. So the first step is quality ingredients, and our Middleton distillery is located in Cork, that is in the south of Ireland. And we say that it's the perfect place for some of those ingredients. Our first ingredient is pure, clean water, and in Irish, the words for whiskey are Ishka Baha, which means water of life. The Dungarty River flows through our distillery down in Middleton, and we say that it's the source of life for our whiskey. We also get our barley from a 100-kilometre radius around the distillery, and we import non-GMO maize or corn from France. The reason why we don't grow our own corn here in Ireland, but we don't get enough sunshine all year round. You probably noticed, yeah? Okay. So, we have 2 types of barley that we use in our whiskey. So we use unmalted and malted barley. Unmalted barley just means raw barley. So we take it straight from the fields. It has its hard shell or husk intact, and it gives the whiskey a creamy, spicy flavour or mouthfeel. And unmalted barley in whiskey is very much a common Irish practice, but not as popular in other parts of the world. We also use malted barley, otherwise known as malt. And malted barley has a bit of a process involved. So first we soak the barley in water for 2 days. Then we store it in a humid environment for 5 days until germination occurs. With germination, we are tricking the barley into thinking it's springtime, so then it releases the sugars and the enzymes that we need later for our fermentation process. Then we trap these sugars and enzymes by applying some heat. Traditionally, we did this in a large room called a malt house, and a malt house was covered in ceramic malting tiles, and we would blow hot air all around the room. So you can see the ceramic malting tiles here, and also if you put your hand in the centre of the table, you can touch them as well. You'll notice there are lots of little holes in the tiles. That's where the air would blow through and heat the barley. So does anyone like Scotch whiskey? Who drinks Scotch whiskey? Yes. Okay. So what flavours do you get with Scotch that you don't get with Irish whiskey? What would you say? Smoky. Smoky. And some people say peaty flavours. So in Ireland, when we heat our barley, we use hot, clean air. In Scotland, a lot of the whiskey makers still use peat or turf. And you get a lot of smoky, peaty flavours that you don't get with Irish whiskey anymore. So, next step, we take the barley and we grind it down into a grist. A grist is a flour-like substance. We mix this with warm water and it becomes mash. And then we filter it down once more, and we are left with a liquid called wort. And to this liquid we add yeast. Yeast consumes up all the sugars. You get a chemical reaction. It releases CO2, and then most importantly, we get alcohol. Now, we don't just have whiskey just yet. It's not whiskey. What do you think we've made? It's not whiskey though. It's beer. We've made beer, yeah. We made a type of beer. So this is 10% alcohol or 20% proof. And this is the starting point for our whiskey. So we don't call it beer, we call it wash. That's what we call it, okay? So to turn this into our whiskey spirit, our next step is our distillation. And here in Ireland, when we distill our whiskey, we use these large copper pots. These are called pot stills. And down in Middleton, we have the largest pot stills in the world. Each one contains 80,000 litres of liquid inside, and we have 9 of those altogether. The first one here is called the wash still. So our mixture goes in and we boil it up. The alcohol boils at a lower temperature to the water, so the alcohol vapours rise through the neck. We call this part here the swan's neck. And then it condenses and we collect it down below in our spirit receiver. Then we repeat a second time in the middle one called the faint still, and then we go a third time in the last one there called the spirit still. Here at Jameson we triple distill our whiskey. John Jameson said, if you triple distill the whiskey, it will give you twice the smoothness. This whole process from beginning to end takes 3 to 4 days to complete, and when we make our pot still whiskey, we only use malted and unmalted barley in the process. And here in Ireland, this is considered the traditional way to make whiskey. And this is the pot still whiskey method. So we also have another way of distilling our whiskey here at Jameson, which is called the column still or continuous still method, because it runs continuously. The column still only takes 17 hours to complete the full process to make our spirit. And the column still is how we make grain whiskey. So we use maize or corn and malted barley to make that. Okay, so Jameson Original is a blend of pot still and column still whiskey. So now you can smell the 2 types of whiskey. If you press down on these bottles here and spray onto the card, go ahead and have a smell. So pot still whiskey is a robust, spicy smell. It's a little bit like the smell of tequila. And the other one, column still, is very light, delicate alcohol smell, kind of like the smell of vodka. Really very far.
Try it.
Don't get pulled over the way.
Okay, so our next step is our maturation. So, we get our barrels from 2 places around the world. So we use American barrels from Kentucky, USA. They are pre-seasoned with bourbon, so the barrels are used once to store bourbon, then we get them over here for our whiskey. We also use pre-seasoned sherry butts or sherry casks from Jerez in Spain, and these are pre-seasoned with Oloroso sherry, which is a type of fortified wine. And we use pre-seasoned barrels and casks because we want them to impart the notes and the flavours onto our whiskey. So now if you lift up the little wooden handles there, you can smell our whiskey from a bourbon barrel or a sherry cask. Put your head down and have a smell if you like. So bourbon barrels will give us notes of vanilla, sweetness and toasted wood. And sherry casks will give us notes of dried fruits, nuts, figs and Christmas cake. So now we come to the final stage. So we're involved with every step of the process, but when we get to the final stage, we need to leave the whiskey in the barrels for a number of years to mature. There is give and take between the wood and the whiskey, and the whiskey takes on the characteristics of the wood. So if you look at your tables, you'll see the liquid starts off clear and it gets darker over time. We also lose some volume. So we lose 2% of all the whiskey we make per year to evaporation. And at our production levels, that is 49,000 bottles per day, or 1 bottle every 3 seconds is lost to evaporation. So here in Ireland, we call it the angel's share. We say the angels come down and take the whiskey away from us. They must be very happy or very drunk angels. So, next step, we blend the whiskey, then we bottle the whiskey, then we ship it all over the world for you to enjoy. And that's how you make Jameson Irish whiskey.
Yeah. Amen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, do you have any questions for me? Anyone got any questions? We're all very quiet today. Okay. Right, so we're gonna go to our next room. We're gonna be on into the tasting room, okay? So follow me this way.
And all of a sudden, here we are in New Rumley, Ohio, birthplace of General Custer. Yes, that General Custer. There's two things about him that I really admire. The first is that he was 34th of 34th in his class at West Point, dead last. The other thing I admire about him, his cowboy hat. You gotta check out that cowboy hat. You should also check out this cowboy hat right here. Cowboy Revolution Clothing. We get 15% off of these hats. They come in all different sorts of colors and sizes and styles. Got some cool camo ones. There's also hoodies and shirts and all that other cool stuff. We get discounts off of all those things too. So I'll put the link in the description. Use our code TheThirstyCowboy and you will get the same discount that I get. Now let's go back to the video.
Right, this one is, I can move the whiskey down to you, it's okay, you can sit there.
Get over here, David.
I'm coming. Keep your pants on.
Right, you go to your side.
Got your name on this one right here.
That's mine right there. Sweet.
Yeah, no, yeah, if you want to.
She's in the bathroom, she can come here.
Okay, you don't have space, you can, you're not drinking, you're driving, you just don't drink. Okay, you don't have one then. Is there a space, an extra one?
As we mentioned earlier, the heart of our whisky making operations lives in Middleton, County Cork. What you can see here is our old Middleton distillery. That began operations in the early 1820s. And appearing in the back, we can see our modern Middleton distillery, where we make our whisky today. We produce over 60 million litres of pure alcohol every year, making us one of the biggest whisky distilleries in the world. The distillery operates 24/7 year-round, only closing for 2 weeks for maintenance. This is our still house, which houses the world's largest pot stills, each holding 80,000 litres. We have 3 sets of these pot stills in the main distillery to keep up with our growing demand. We mature our whisky in 2 locations. One at the Middleton site, where we have reached our warehouse capacity with 78 warehouses. And the second at our Dungorney site, which is 15 kilometres away from the distillery, where we currently have 70 warehouses. We are planning to add 6 new warehouses here each year. Each warehouse holds 16,000 casks. We are currently maturing 2 million casks. Our master blender, Billy Lighton, and his blending team decides when the whiskey is finished maturing. They nose whiskey samples from various cask types daily to ensure they have the desired results. They can then start the blending process. Our blending is at craft scale, meaning each individual sherry cask gets individually nosed. They then blend these various whiskies together in a lab, creating individual blends. After the whiskey has been sampled and nosed, the casks are emptied into vats in Middleton and blended. The whiskey is then delivered by tanker to our bottling operations in Fox and Geese, which is just outside Dublin city centre. From here, our whiskey is bottled and packed into trucks and ready to be distributed and enjoyed around the world.
Everybody, so welcome to the tasting room. So first of all, anyone who's under 18 cannot drink the whiskey. Anybody who's driving after the tour, please don't drink the whiskey. And if anybody here today doesn't drink alcohol or doesn't want to drink, that's totally fine as well, okay? So our first whiskey is the middle glass, which is Jameson Original. If you want to lift up the middle or center glass. And then I'm going to ask you to tilt your glass a little bit. we'll move the glass around, or you can swirl the whiskey around in the glass like this, okay? So then when you look at the glass now, you'll see there's a film. The film has formed on the inside of the glass, and little droplets slowly begin to move down the glass. Do you know what those droplets are called? Whiskey legs, yeah? In Ireland we call these whiskey tears. We're very dramatic over here. Okay. So, if the tears move fast down the side of the glass, then it's a light-bodied whiskey. If they move slowly, then it's a more full-bodied whiskey. This whiskey here is light to medium bodied. It's blended, so it contains some of the pot still and some of the column still, which you smelled earlier. Some of it comes from bourbon barrels and some comes from sherry casks. Okay, let's have a smell. So on the nose, you might get a hint of vanilla. And a bit of sweet, kind of sherry sweetness coming through as well. And then let's taste, everybody. So cheers. Cheers. You might get a little bit of kind of toasted wood, vanilla, and sweet spiciness coming through. This whiskey is 40% alcohol, which is 80 proof. They're all the same strengths today. 40%, 80 proof. Go and have a sip of water in between, go ahead. Whiskey number 2 is Black Barrel, which is on the right hand side. Black Barrel is a little bit more full bodied. Black Barrel is small batch whiskey, expertly crafted. We mostly use bourbon barrels to mature the whiskey. The barrels we use, we double char them on the insides. We kind of burn the inside of the barrels. We do it twice, which is where it gets its name from, Black Barrel. So then in the inside of the barrel, what happens is the bourbon traces and the fire basically causes it to caramelize. It caramelizes the traces of sugar. And what happens is you get lovely sweet notes. Okay, let's have a smell. You might get a bit of caramel or butterscotch coming through on the nose. And next, let's taste. So you'll get like caramel, butterscotch, vanilla, and toffee notes on this one, okay? Okay, if you want to have a sip of water in between. When we get to our last whiskey, please keep a little drop of whiskey in your glass and we'll do a toast at the very end, okay? The last whiskey is Jameson Distillery Edition. This one is a distillery exclusive. We only sell it here in Jameson in Dublin and in Middleton as well. And also this whiskey, it's mostly pot still whiskey, which is small amounts of small batch grain whiskey added at the end. And it's mostly matured in sherry casks. On the nose, you might get a hint of apple or pear. And then on the taste, you might get ripe fruits or sherry sweetness coming through as well. Let's taste. So cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Oh, that's delicious.
Okay, so if anyone likes that one, that's Distillery Edition. You buy the bottle, you can get your name printed on the bottle as well. Nice gift.
How do I get it home?
You'd have to drink it in the airport. Yeah, you'd have to put it in your check-in bag. If you have a check-in bag. Or...
Oh, you can do that?
So please raise your glass. And thank you for visiting us here in Ireland. When we do a toast to good health, we say sláinte. 1, 2, 3. Sláinte. Thanks, everybody.
Can I go to work with you today?